Good morning. What a beautiful, beautiful weekend. So, how's your day going? Been noticing that there's a lot of videos being put out by you could call them spiritual guides, those who that's their forte, right? They help people get in touch with their inner guide, and the message seems to be very consistent across the board. So, I have a question for you. Have you noticed increase in synchronicity in your life, almost like a divine providence is helping you to connect with people or information or just downloads of information. There seems to be a big increase in how we access our information, and also moving into that comfort level of trusting in ourselves and our inner dialogue, right? So I do have a couple articles in my blog, Where Do Our Thoughts Come From, which is kind of fascinating. But this year has been really crazy, right? And I think a lot of us have been feeling angst and confined and restricted, and we just want to break through, right? And this seems to be what's coming through in the collective, and it's coming out in a lot of different ways. But very interesting, along with this full moon that we have, right, that has been keeping us up at night. If you don't know why you were awake last night, it was the full moon and their energies coming through. So it's very important to pay attention what's coming through. Okay, on that note, pulling a couple more cards, because that's just how I kind of spark my higher guidance coming through. That's really fascinating how it works. So I invite you to try that in your spare time, or creating your sacred space, right? I've been doing a lot of videos and guidance on how to create a sacred space. And recently, a lot of my close friends, their family members I've been recently diagnosed with cancer. So there's this outreach of how can I support my family and friends who are going through this. And there's so many different ways. But this is usually when we start to delve into alternatives, right? We kind of fight the conventional modalities that are recommended to us by our treating physicians. And what I'd like to just kind of put out there is, I keep seeing this duality. We're still in this duality space, right? Where one is better than the other. And we really need to move into and open our minds to options, opening up our options, right? I keep talking about what tools are in your toolbox. So we can have the best of both worlds, right? We can, if it's recommended, you have to do your research, and you got to find within yourself what is the best treatment option for you, right? Only you can make that choice. But if you do go for the conventional medical model, there's so many ways we can mediate the side effects, and we're just not given these tools or information. So I guess the question is, where do we start? If someone is recently diagnosed, or even in ongoing treatment for cancer, autoimmune, anything that's really giving them challenges of how to deal with healing, right? And how to get beyond that space of not feeling good, right? Because we've become so depleted. People are struggling with fibromyalgia right now. And it's like when you have fibromyalgia, for example, your battery gets so depleted and we can't figure out why we don't have energy and why we're feeling all this pain in our muscles, our structure, right? The tendons holding everything together, everything's so tight. And a lot of times it's taking the time, right? And what a time now. We're all being forced to go in and take care of ourselves and ask ourselves, how can we do this differently, right? Excuse me. What can we do differently? And I always recommend, excuse me, allergies are kicking in. So I always recommend creating your sacred space. And by creating a sacred space, our minds are just so fascinating, right? And we can get stuck in these scenarios or restricting what we think we can do. When you create a creative space where you can just sit there and sit with yourself and you fill your senses with whatever brings your joy into your body, right? We want to bring more joy, more peace, more ease into our body. Well, what are the things that bring that to you, right? This is how we heal. We have to up level our mind. And what's coming through is becoming the observer, right? And getting less reactive. Oh my, I've been in that, especially when you're going through some emotional stuff and it's like all this junk, I keep talking about our junk in the trunk comes up and we have to deal with it. If we keep stuffing it underneath, it just comes up again, right? When you have a similar circumstance, these blocks will come up again to revisit until we work through where they came from, right? And how to heal them and send them on their way and reach a higher plateau in our minds of what we're capable of being. Just being. Can we just be, right? We're always into the doing. Got to do this, we got to do that. What would it feel like to sit fully supported in your sacred space and just be? And when you do that, the information and guides or higher aspects of ourselves will come and commune with us and tell us different ways we can improve upon our life. Now get little prompts. What do we want to do next? Are we happy with where we are right now? Right? Our life is full of choices. And I know right now looks really bizarre. I've been struggling with that. So again, I had to go back to the cards. And what's coming through is entering new dimensions, right? There's some underlying spiritual power that's moving through and changing us at a fundamental level. And boy, it feels huge. But my God, how magnificent is that? What a time to be alive right now. That's all I can keep saying. So when we stay on that timeline and that thought process of appreciation, right? Moving into a space of being and being receptive, right? Just moving with the flow, right? And allowing. Whew, that's a tough one, right? So perhaps we all are being called. And if you haven't seen that video, I would highly recommend it. The Called by 107. But we all have different things that are pulling us. So what is it that you're moving into now? Sonar. right? How to listen to that higher information that comes through behind all the busyness and all our things coming up is asking us to clear it, right? We have to deal with the stuff coming up and clear it. And we want to clear it for good. We want it out of here, right? We want to reach a higher aspect that brings us peace and ease. And then we can move to celebration. Wow. So when we have all these things going on, I keep saying we need to ask questions. You know, we can either pretend like we don't see things or we don't hear things, or we can ask. Ask, what do you see differently? Why do you see things differently? How can I support you with what you're struggling with right now, right? And this year has been very interesting because depths of silence came jumping out. I mean, it flew out. So, depths of silence. Again, it's like this duality, right? We have this time to reintegrate and refocus on every aspect in our life, our jobs, our relationships, our careers, right? Everything. And reevaluate, what is it that's important for you at this time? And go in that direction. Is something nudging you to make a change, or maybe stay where you are and refine what you're doing where you're at, right? How can we implement changes that will expand us beyond this duality of choosing one thing over another? This is good, this is bad. How can we bridge? How can we become the bridge in our communication in all avenues? How can we become that facilitator and loosen up the judgment of how people may see things very differently? And instead of judging that, right, we move into our own space. What is it that we are supposed to be doing? And again, I have to ask, are you seeing synchronicities and divine connections, like timing? You want to do things, and all of a sudden the phone rings, you connected to this person, that person, and things just seem to orchestrate underneath. And you're suddenly going in a totally new direction. And it feels so liberating. But would you do that on your own? Probably not, right? So when we're being shaken up to the core, it's an invitation, right? To jump. So I just wanted to put that out there. And there's lots of people that are talking about how to listen more to the divine guidance coming through, right? Something we don't talk about. I keep doing it. Whether you want to engage in that dialogue with me, we are divine spiritual being, and we are moving into the next stage in our evolution. It's becoming so clear, but yet we still have a long ways to go, right? So different people were called to do and serve in different ways. So align with your team. Who's on your team to support you, and who are you supporting, right? We have to get beyond our self-identification. Like, that's very crucial, but We have to figure out where we fit into the collective at this time to support this process of awakening. So what's awakening within you? And are you seeing the shift that you don't quite get, or you've been seeing the shift for a long time and you're like, I know exactly what this is. I know what my role is. So what are you needing to support you in this role? It's a very interesting time. So enjoy the weekend. Enjoy these energies coming through with the full moon. Let's put out our intentions for the highest and best outcome for all. And we hold this in our mind, in our body, in our spirit, and release. As we release, we're moving into higher options. I really can't wait to see the new technology to come through in our medical field. Oh my God, there's so much out there. If you only knew what's available for you, you would release all this fear. Fear is just the unknown, right? We've been through things like this before. And start breaking down what logically fits. And if there's a lot of misinformation, we really have to take that in. And it's okay to question, why do we have to do it this way? And bring up the reasons why it's not logically supported. And why do we have to do things just because? That's not good enough anymore, right? There has to be a logical solution, and there's plenty of solutions out here. You're just being stuffed down. So be open. Be open to new ways of healing, of being, and you will find where you're guided for your highest healing. So I see peace and ease in every cell of your body right here, right now. And so it is. I'll leave links for the sacred space. I highly recommend it. And if you want coaching around that, you don't know where to start, or just not used to creating that space for yourself. You're always focused on everyone else and helping and supporting everyone else. Now is the time for you. It's very critical. We have to know what supports us so that we can keep our energy high and we can be here to support one another. So if you need any help with creating your sacred space, connect with me. We could do just a couple coaching calls, and I would love to support you. It's amazing, especially if you're going through a healing crisis. Bring up stories. With my husband, I created a space outside that was like a garden, and music, and we ate outside, and candlelight, and just, you find ways that help reduce the stress, and you create a space like that. And when you create that space, the whole world kind of goes whoosh, and we release, and we sit there in our space, and we focus on how we're going to bring healing into our body at the highest levels. And that means
it's 10 o'clock.
Being open to changing our nutrition, learning about how our body really works. And we've lost so much knowledge because we've become so specialized in each part of the body. And it's like the elephant in the room, right? If every doctor went to this elephant, they would identify and assess something different. And no one would be in alignment with this elephant because they only had one little part of it. So we've lost our focus on the holistic power in aligning with the whole body and remembering and learning how the body actually works. And there's many different components to it. Our minds are very powerful, right? Right now, we have to become the observer, less reactive, right? Hold ourselves in a higher state of being and observe and be open to new information coming up and being willing to try it, right? The program that I use, the software, really is termed informational medicine. And what I found by working through this software is, and I always I've used myself as a guinea pig for years, but whenever I had a problem or some challenge coming up, and it's funny how our ego wants to deflect any responsibility for ourselves to wanting to do change, right? Until we force ourselves into situations that make us face, right? Face our demons or our gremlins, right? We have gremlins. What are your gremlins? Where'd they come from? You have to heal them in order to move to the higher state of healing. All this negative emotions, past traumas, they get stuck in our cells. And we have to really learn how to look at a higher level of observing and dig down and look at our body in a holistic manner, right? Matter, it's got some divine component to it that we don't quite understand, but it's getting more apparent, especially in this last couple years. So there's a lot of ancient practices that can really support you, and I would research that. It's funny, we don't really question anything until we get a challenge, right? Health challenge. And then when it doesn't get fixed by the conventional medical model, right? Then that's when we search, and then we become open to new things. Why do we have to wait until we hit rock bottom to be open to new ideas that have been here for ages? And yet new information, we'll just jump on that and not even have all the information. It's baffling to me. There's so many different components. And it's up to us to gather our tools and step into self-responsibility, right? Do our research. It's amazing. Okay, so I've gone off on another tangent. Create your sacred space. If you would like support with that, reach out to me. You're in my videos, you just contact me. You can go to gxmonica.weebly.com and you can set up an appointment through that access. Okay? All right. Have a great day, and I'd like to hear your challenges and what's going well. And are you noticing the synchronicities? Very powerful right now. So listen to your higher guide. Till next time.